Let's get into it. We had obviously beginning of the week. We are still like high time frame, nothing has changed, but right now we are in a super interesting area in my opinion, because we still have this 1, 2, 3 bullish break. So order flow expectation is still to reach the range high to complete this model 1 accumulation slash 3 drive. However, locally around our mid range, we formed this range since like it's now like last week, and we have been in that range all the time. And then this week, after that CPI pump, we super aggressive move to the upside. We had that move above the range, where we yesterday talked about, is that going to be a deviation, or do we get a quick move in and then out and then continue the bullish week? Well, eventually we had the deviation confirmation. So in a minute I want to go over that, but first I want to quickly look how our main range and volume profile is looking right now. Let's get rid of that. So this is our overall range. So as I always say, in a range, highest probability levels are your range extremes. So in this case, it's the lower band right here and the upper band right here. So currently we are in the middle of the range, where often choppy price action happens. And also what happens a lot of times is that within a bigger range you form a local range, which is the case right here, where we had the local range near probably our point of control. I'm now going to look at it. But local ranges within bigger ranges are often even more harder to play, because they can be extra manipulated. But let's see where our that's the wrong tool. Where our volume profile of this main range is. Look, that's super clean. So this deviation of our local range this week also deviated the value area high of our main range, as you can see right here. Price is now at the point of control. So this is an area where price could chop around quite some time, simply because that's the habit of the point of control in your main range. And it's the mid range of the main range, it's the point of control, and it's also the mid range of this local range. So this is a very low probability trade zone. So for new trades, I would wait for the lower band of the local range at least, or for a retrace into the upper part right there. Ignoring the local range, because I want to go over that in a minute. If we just look at the bigger range right here, then we just deviated the value area high. We are now at the point of control. From a range perspective, what we could see is that we deviate the value area high, go to value area low, which is currently right here, which will be a confluence of a retest of that demand, which is still resting here. And if you deviate one side of the range, oftentimes you deviate the other side. So if we get that, I think that would be super clean for like the next week. So what I can see is we have two scenarios, which is basically a continuation of our bullish trend internally, which is here, higher low, higher high, here with a strong impulse, but technically we can still form here a higher low, technically just retesting the point of control and continuing our uptrend towards our range high. That is one scenario. The other scenario is, in my opinion, that we or flush lower already, which will be lower probability from a trading perspective. The other one is that we get a retrace here, show weakness just like we did yesterday, then can look for a new short, take out the range low, so we deviated range high, deviate range low, have the confluence of this demand and that value area low, then push back in the range and then get our continuation to the range high. Then it will look like this. From an execution point of view, this will be extremely clean. To first look for a short right there, maybe early week manipulation, because if we look at the timing, this will be around Sunday. Then next week sell off, maybe form that low next week, late next week, or early the week after, and then eventually still get our move to the range high. So for the next few days, what I'm mainly interested in is to see if we indeed form that higher low around here locally, or if we get a retrace here, look for shorts, or if we sell off already. So if we look at the local range, we tapped into some demand. Yeah, so basically this is the CPI pump where it started. So this local consolidation was the consolidation before the news pump. So we technically fully retraced the news pump. The only way I will be interested here in that higher low idea, because I don't really like it if price pushes up this strong, consolidates, and it gives a full retrace. Oftentimes, or at least I don't see it often go up like that. Oftentimes it just continues showing weakness. So the only way I would be interested in that higher low setup, which is basically continuation of this bullish trend, is if we form a local range here. So depending on where our low and high form, that we see consolidation right here and then show bullish price behavior. If we do this, then I think the higher low potential is there, and then I would be super interested in longs. Let's see if we pull the fibs. Yeah, so Bitcoin loves to give deep retraces. That's currently in the 7.872 area, so they don't want to go much lower. So what I would, for the bullish idea, is that we range here, maybe take that low again, have the confluence of this anchored VWAP, and if we then flip structure to look for longs, and then this could be the long setup, which would be pretty clean. If we don't get that local consolidation where we have at least a local range or sweep the lows, then I think it's more likely that we have a range high deviation and we go for that range low deviation of this local range, because that's also the confluence of that higher time frame demand here and it's very low. So then we can look. Now I'm just pre-planning. I will go over the short later, but I'm now looking at, because technically we have a just yeah, you can say it's bearish PO3, it's a deviation. Technically it comes to the same, but often if you deviate one side, you go to the other side. So even if we get a retrace here, potentially we can look for shorts towards this level. So I'm looking, what levels do we have? I'm still personally in that short. Okay, so we don't have structure on the hourly or above. We do not have super clean supply or anything. Let's look at the value. Yeah, so I don't see a super clean supply or level I would want to see price go into, but we have the point of control around here, and if we look at the VIP levels, maybe we can, yeah, that's around those highs. So if without taking this low, because currently we also have again a super weak low with a London low, so this low is very unlikely to hold today or later. Also because, as I said before, if we are indeed bullish, you want to see price take it low and then trend higher. You do not bottom like this. You don't see price go like this. That's not how price action works. It needs to sweep that low if it's truly bullish, in my opinion. So if without taking this low, price is pushing higher and shows any weakness around those levels, then you can also look for fresh shorts, in my opinion, to trade it at least to this event or to that range low. but the higher the better. So preferably you reach this level if you want to look for new shorts, because we are in the middle of this local range, which is in the middle of the bigger range. So then you have to be careful not to get trapped in choppy positions, because very big chance that if you open a trade right here, that price is just going to chop here for a few days, and then you are in a position that is basically doing nothing and only takes away your attention, energy, and that's not what you want. So personally, I'm gonna set alerts here just above 64 at this demand and at the range low. Yeah, personally I think we go lower, or we need to sweep those lows and show like accumulative behavior here. Then this could potentially be the higher low for the higher high, but as far as price action is now looking, to me it's not really promising for the long side. So going over the short and why I shorted it yesterday, I think it was pretty clean during the stream. What I was looking at is that we had simple range deviation. We broke hourly back to bearish. We came into this demand where during New York it was super clean, because during New York we technically traded down, low, lower high, lower low. We swing filled the low here, and then we broke internal back to bullish. So if you look at it right here, here we broke it back to bullish, local tiny reversal setup. So you could have taken a long here, although your confirmation was only up here. So then, like from an RR perspective, the moment you get the confirmation, it's technically right here, then this is your setup. So that's not really like if you expected higher, then that would have been, could have been a nice long, but taking into account that this was the major level, which as discussed yesterday was our hourly bearish structure. So we had bearish structure like here. So unless price broke above that level, this could simply be a lower high for a lower low, which it ended up being. Beside that, it was also super clean 3-hour supply. As you can see here, 3-hour supply, price wicked into it 2 times on the high time frame. It was our range high level. So a lot of confluence is right there, and that's why I was saying it's a high probability zone to look for either a reclaim of this zone, which means push above it, backtest, and then look for aggressive longs, because that would mean that this move below was manipulation. But in my opinion it was the lower probability play, because it looked more like, or at least for a short, you had a cleaner invalidation, because this is your potential deviation of your range high, move above, break back in your range, and then oftentimes price likes to retest the range high to truly see if buyers or sellers are intended to hold price down, and then solve. So that is what eventually price did, and I was being very patient here, but I was thinking, do I want to long? I was like, no, I need to see a break above. Then I would have been probably looking for aggressive longs and not any backtest, because if you break back above the range, there's no reason to fall back in your range again. So then you have a super clean invalidation for longs. But now price failed to get above that level. This anchored VWAP also kind of helped price. But what I was locally seeing was here again. From the low up, we have high, higher low, SFP, so tiny wick right here. So we SFP the high, again reversal setup, SFP, which means that if you internally break, I have no idea if we broke internal structure. No, there was no structure internally. But oftentimes price then retraces back to your targeted low, which is the low that brought you into that high. And because of market structure, this is the low that brought you into that high, therefore it's also your market structure low. So the moment we broke I saw the SFP, then we broke, and I was I was not really watching the charts that much at that moment. I just had my alert, and then I was zoomed out, and I had my alert at that break of structure, and then I saw we have swing failure. We didn't overcome this key area. SFP break of structure. This is basically just super clean invalidation for a short, in my opinion, because there's no reason to go above that level. That will be, then the bullish idea would be validated. So I took this short around here. Let's see. Yeah, there on the after the break, clean invalidation, and that one is now running. Scaled out a little bit, but I'm gonna use it for a bit as a hedge, and I think this will go lower eventually, but it's in profits anyway. So I think this is a super clean range play, and because we swing filled this high, I think price will gravitate towards the other side, which will be around here. Is my main expectation right now. Or we need to get that kind of tree drive behavior right there. That's the only reason when I want to get into longs. Like this. So that's for BTC, and let's see what if we put on the levels. Let's clear up this. That we have our low, because for the daily we can maybe also make potential scalp plays. Where are, yeah, so we have daily high at hour 1. That's a strong Asia hour, very early in the day. Hour 1, hour 2, super strong hours to put in daily highs or lows. And we have the daily low. Okay, we're gonna look at gold later. Daily low at hour 8, which is a London low. So based on that, I think over the past months that each time we identified a weak or a London low or high, that it always got taken. It hasn't failed one time, I believe. So let's see. Okay, let's put this here. What the daily shows us. So here you can clearly see bullish days would behave like this, bearish days like this, and median day like this. So without looking at either of this clearly shows this is typically behaving like a Friday bearish price action. So if we look at bullish, this is how typical bullish days behave. Well, this is the opposite of a bullish day. So then we can choose our bias, which is bearish, and then we can see that this is behaving like a typical bearish day, with the low at London and the high at early Asia. So here we can see that 69% the bearish days had the high in by now, so already pretty big, while New York hasn't even started. And 85% of the bearish days put the low in later. 67% of the days put the low in further below the open. 21% of the bearish days had the low in by now. So that shows that on the daily, this low is not looking good at all. So then you can even kind of make like a plan maybe for scalp traders. Quickly looking, our daily high, yeah, okay, so our daily high is this high, with a super weak low, and this is really scalping, but they can look what are your levels first. Okay, what I directly see is we have 45-minute supply right here, protecting the daily high. We have also local supply right here. The price tapped into that. If we look at the daily high to the daily low, then our fib levels are right there. This is technically the supply. Then you could watch how is price moving up? So let's go to the 5. Yeah, so here we have a little imbalance, supply, and we have 5-minute upward structure. So we know that this low is a weak low. This high is a strong high. We do have 5-minute structure, higher low, higher high. So locally this could continue up. But if we look at how is price moving up, this is not a strong move up. This is creating a lot of sell-side liquidity. So I think that if we, like this zone, I would not really trade it from this zone. I would be more interested if we maybe can make another high and get closer towards this region. And if we show any weakness there, then I think we can get a sell-off later today to take out that London low. So for scalping, I would look for something like this. If we can continue this local uptrend, because we have a strong daily high, weak daily low, we have shit upward structure right here. This is literally nothing. So if you continue that upward structure, break it back to bearish, then you could look at, like if you want to play it safe, daily high, invalidation, target the low. But if you get a good bearish break of structure, then you could tighten it technically to that high. And then you can get a setup like this. So that is for local price action. But always important to keep the higher time frame in your mind and remember where we are in the bigger range. And it is in the mid range of the mid range at the point of control. So never forget where you are. This is within like the price action of since 5th of June. This is probably the lowest probability area to take trades. So take that into account. That at least you want to wait for this zone or this zone. It's much higher probability. But for the scalpers below among us, it could give something. Quickly looking at USDT. Yeah, so this one is in that big range. We had that hourly bullish break, which caused that reversal. So here we had structure. Basically low, lower high, super strong displacement, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And then yesterday we had the break, the bullish, price came back into demand and continued its uptrend. And currently it's in that massive supply right here, which on the 4 hour could simply be a lower high for a lower low. Looking at price action. Lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low towards range low. So that is still possible. However, how do you move into the level is always super important. And the move into it is pretty strong so far, where you create local demand levels. So here you break the bullish, here you break also the bullish, and you leave demand behind. And there's not really a market structure break till like here on the hourly. But for example, if you had to choose a lower one, then this is your market structure level. So price is in a strong supply level, also VIP confluence here, but so far it's not showing signs of weakness. So also here I think it could push higher, or we need to see like the opposite of what I want to see on BTC is that we form a local range here and start taking out that high and form like a local tree drive here. If we see that, then I would be super interested in shorts here, which basically means longs in crypto. But until then, this is showing strength and not really any weakness. So we can look for signs of weakness, but as long as they are not clear or not obvious, then this looks pretty strong. So using that in confluence with BTC. Let me have a look at the chat. We also have some strong VWAPs coming in at the local 786 level. VWAP. Yeah. From low on high. Yeah, and that's also why I would not be surprised if price starts chopping here in the middle. Because indeed we have this VWAP on the downside, we have this important VWAP on the upside, which has basically been acting as support since that third tap Wyckoff low. So here we tapped it, held it, front ran it, held it, tapped it, held it, tapped it, held it. So this is could indeed come down lower, this one slowly higher. We are at the mid-range of the mid-range, so something like this would not surprise me at all either. Sol is, yeah, for trading this week it has been requiring a lot of patience, as many coins did, but we are following that pre-planning from yesterday, where if we wanted to get more bullish, I was looking at a sweep of this low, and then we can start looking for potential accumulation models. Tap into this, take that liquidity, tap into that demand. If we then get a move back in the range, this could be the early beginning of an accumulation, which can bring us higher. For now, it's just slow bleeding down, but it's getting interesting. However, it needs more time. And if you want to long, for example, I would never long anything that is so close to the range low. And if you have clean levels of demand and liquidity below you, but otherwise you can just watch structure. You have some sort of structure here. They can watch, okay, which time frame is it obvious? Well, then I would pick T30. Very simple, have low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high. So here you can also clearly see from the high of this week, if you wanted to get into longs, there basically was no trigger, because structure has simply been putting in lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So if you do not fight structure, you would not have gotten in on the wrong side. Could even went short, but that was not really my style. Then this is your last obvious lower high till we make this lower low. So then I would say, if you really want to get into longs, at least wait for that structure to break and then look for longs. But I would be highly surprised if we do not take out this low. So I'm waiting for that and then see how we react again, which is always key. Because if we do this, then high chances that we get a lower high for maybe lower low, and then this range is easily invalidated. But if we, instead of a very violent move, or like a violent move but wick end up being a wick, then we know that that's exactly what we want to see. And then it gets really interesting, because for a potential accumulation model, we have a lot of liquidity built up here. So that's why I'm anticipating that if this is going to be an accumulation, we have super nice liquidity above us. So then we can watch, do we get our second tap here, which can also take a bit more, but then tap into demand, do we get a move back? That is basically our signal. It's time to look for potential third taps. Although it can take a bit longer, but I think, basically we are at the range low, so this is worth paying attention for longs. And yeah, hype. Said beginning of the week how I did not trust this to be our low. I was super interested in shorts at this level, but we pushed straight through it. So then it was also too strong for me to get into a short. But it ended up being true that this was not enough to be a good bottom. And here we basically from here broke structure back to bearish and then heavy sell off, leaving strong supply behind and taking out a lot of this sell side liquidity. So if we just zoom out to the bigger range, I think this is very likely to also take this local liquidity. We have not taken this low, so I think we are highly likely to trade into this level sooner or later. And we left clean supply behind, big imbalances. So as long as you do not reach this low, it could also that you get a retrace, get weakness there, local 3 drive, a local range, any of the things. I think you guys know by now what my triggers are. Into here can offer a short into that low. Take the low and we, or at least I'm gonna look for longs again, simply playing this range. Super clean range. Let's see what our volume levels are. Yeah, okay, so we lost the value area low, but the range is not really clean. Value area high and value area low are located pretty well. You see also a bit, but you see that it's more or less the same from volume. So from unhealthy, you often have like a Christmas tree. It looks a bit like a Christmas tree. So I would also not be surprised to see price maybe chop here longer, get more volume in the point of control, and then go lower or higher. So also here, this is a low probability zone to trade in my opinion, but lower, this is high probability and this is high probability. So interesting levels to work with. Just need some more time. So alert here at the start of that big imbalance, and at the lows I have some alerts. And that is what I'm watching mainly on the crypto side. Let's see what we... Yeah, so TAO could be a model 1. Also because we have that super clean return to zone. We have tap 1, we have tap 2. This could be tap 3. Although I don't like the location of the range that much. Often if you get an accumulation or distribution, it makes sense where that happens in the chart. And right here we have this liquidity low below us. And here also on the high time frame, in my opinion, there is quite a lot of reason to eventually tap into this level. Range demand and here liquidity build up. So if you form such a range in this area, then it would be a high probability range context wise. But right now we form it at a, like basically in the middle of nowhere. So then you also have to take into account, is there a reason why this range, why they should accumulate here while we have major levels below us. So take that into account. I'm not too confident about this model 1. So then I want to see clean confirmations, which on the hourly we have this bearish structure, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So here we have a few confluences of this supply zone, which is 2 hour supply. Price tapped into that. So we have supply protecting it here with hourly bearish structure, and it is the range low level. So until we get a clean break above there, this could just be a bearish retest before lower and then fully invalidating that model. So the only way I'm interested in potential longs here is if we get a super clean break above, then retest it, ideally get a new structure confirmation there as well, either from a range or just structure, and then look for longs. But I think chances are bigger here that this model gets invalidated instead of a valid model 1. Also, if you look at the volume profile, it looks like shit. So I have alert, I'm gonna put another alert there. If we get a reclaim, can look for longs, but for now, I think this can also just grind lower. Last one, ETH. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but I said that I had the deja vu of Bitcoin having a tiny deviation and then breaking down, and ETH looking much stronger. Looked like a breakout of the range, but then it simply followed Bitcoin and also came back in the range and then came down. So that is why technically ETH looks good. We still have 4-hour bullish structure right here, higher low, higher high, higher low. We had a range breakout, so technically this could be a very, very obvious higher low for a higher high into demand. But yeah, as I explained yesterday, it wouldn't be the first time that it looks like a range breakout and that Bitcoin goes lower and that then ETH just follows and it still ends up being a deviation. So I'm cautious of that. And my long trigger would be basically the same as on BTC, is a super clean local range. And then let's see if the FIB is right here. Yeah, that's aligning with a fill of this news pump and then in this demand. So maybe price makes low, high, deeper low, deeper high, and then that is our range low, range high. If we then from there show accumulative behavior into that demand, then I'm interested in longs, but otherwise I would not be surprised if this also gives a full retrace and then that we had a BART. So I have my alerts, but I don't trust it too much. But if Bitcoin becomes bullish, then I think ETH is still the better long. Although for now I think it's risky. So that's the last one. Then going to gold. Let's see, Mike. On ETH I had an alert in the high time frame supply end of March and then short. Let's see, end of March supply. From this low, I think that one. Yeah, damn, that's super clean. Indeed, this is basically your supply. Basically this whole zone is supply. So price tested that, and we had some big imbalances right here. So yeah, price took it. Yeah, thing here was you have technically, locally, this is your upward structure. So shorting it beforehand, we had some bearish divergences and stuff, but based on pure market structure, yeah, you could have traded it from the up, from the, like normally you have structure from the low up, so high, higher low, higher high, and then you need to break this low to confirm your breaker structure. But if you are confident or have a bias that it already goes down and your market structure is too low right here, then you can also count structure from the high, from top to bottom. Then you have, for example here, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and then lower low. And then if you break it, for example, from this low to here, then that is your internal bearish breaker structure, and that can then be your trigger to get into a short. then use that, and then short it down. But yeah, you can do it on many ways. But yeah, so Mike did it also with internal. Yeah, if you have like a lot of confluences that you think it's gonna reject, then you can use structure from the top down, and it's also valid. Basically everything is valid as long as it works, and a lot of things work, just not how I often trade it myself. But yeah, well done. It's a nice short, and could have a lot of potential. If this demand fails, then it would be typically eat at such an ugly high. But I would not be surprised if this was the high. So last one. Oh, yeah, this looked like a model 2, so I was interested in potential retests here for longs, but gold is taking out the lows right now, so that's yeah, not looking good. Let's zoom out. So right now this, let's clean it up because now it looks way different. We had that accumulative behavior here, but we should not have lost this low in my opinion. So I'm gonna delete everything, and yeah, it's basically just a slow bleed down. Maybe a new range. It will also not be the first time that you have like some sort of a tree drive, and after that start forming a new range. But then I would want to see a sweep of that low. So also here you have low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Here you also have some sort of structure. Lower high, so if you make a lower low here, sweep that low and then see buyers step in. Potential accumulations, but so far it's showing quite a lot of weakness. Although the way we are coming down, we are mid, like this is the thing, price is moving pretty violent, so sell off, sell off, sell off, but it every time it comes back to mitigate supply. So here supply got mitigated, here it got mitigated, so it can look like this is a strong downtrend, which it is, but because every deep pullback you cleared all supply. So on the moment this starts flipping back to bullish, there is nothing really to hold price back up. So then your return to zone, it can pretty quickly cause that snowball effect, where one trigger hits the other and then quickly moving up. But for that, yeah, needs clear strength, but because for now it's just super weak. So yeah, can look at it next week, but it's also almost weekend, so then I'm personally not interested. And the price action has also been shit for my system, so mostly focusing on the ranges, in which this could be a new range. Otherwise, I'm just paying attention to the crypto pairs. Quickly looking. Okay. So, are there any questions? Otherwise, personally, I think today not super promising. Purely because we are at low context-wise, not at a good region. We're literally in the middle of the middle of the middle. Mid-range of this local range, mid-range of this higher time frame range. So, not the best place to get into fresh positions. Next week we'll do the same. Yes, every week we do exactly the same. Before you close, just for fun, open space exit just. Yeah, I've not been watching SpaceX, but you saw you sent that chart. It's like a field rocket mission. SpaceX. Like they listed it on Binance. Then you ask for it. Okay, let's see. Damn, it was the biggest IPO in history. It's like literally shitcoin. Literally a crypto listing. And you have so many people that forward in here at the start who are now down around 30 to 40% already, and only launched when it launched. Yeah, it's like a month old. 40% down. Crazy. IPO doesn't mean it's probably overpriced. Yeah, that's a good one. Person buying it at 220. Yeah, it was so hyped, and especially because everyone knew it was gonna be listed and it would sell off, and then it started pumping, and because it started pumping, everyone became super bullish, and it was literally a liquidity event before down. Yeah, poor souls. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna thank everyone for joining the stream again. Quite a lot of people joining in again, as has been the case the whole week. So I appreciate it a lot, especially since the market is boring, and we are in the depths of the bear market, and still the same people are here every day. So I really appreciate it, and I'm proud of what we are building. But I probably will write a nice message about that later today. And then for now, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Wish you happy and safe trading, and above all, a good weekend already. And then next week we do the same as always. So thanks everyone, and have a good weekend.